Welcome to Papa's Workshop. Today we're going to be opening up the 3018 SC CNC router by Fox Alien, and we're going to be putting it together. So let's get started. I must say, everything is packaged really nice. For the most part, this machine is pre-assembled. This is all the acrylic enclosure sheets here. This is the base. And this is going to be the gantry, the spindle, and all of the necessary wiring. Again, this is packaged very, very well, so that it's not going to have, or should not have, any damage in shipping. Now this is everything that comes with the machine, because you have all your wiring here, you have your USB cable, all the different bolts and nuts, and you have some bits to be able to get started with on the carving. You have your Z probe, you do have the tool packet, and you've got some hold down clamps as well. Here's the power cord. This is a little fan that we're going to put on, the e-stop switch, and this is your thumb drive that has your Candle software on it. Some more brackets. These are the little corner clamps. And this is the bracket for the hinges for the enclosure. And this is your control board here. This is the gantry, and everything already is pre-assembled. This is your power supply here for the machine. And it's really tucked in here well. There we go. And again, the base is all pre-assembled. And then you have the various sheets of the acrylic that's all pre-cut and ready to be able to assemble to provide a nice enclosure around your CNC machine. Here you have the manual for the CNC machine, and you also have a card that's right on top. And this is an after-sale card, and they're providing a 12-month warranty from the date of the delivery. In addition to that, if there are any damaged or defective parts, all you need to do is contact them, and they will send those parts right out to you. Their customer service is absolutely fantastic. They also provide a list of all different types of bits that is available that you can purchase, as well as some additional items such as the little mini bench vise and the laser module that you can add. This is a complete picture of everything that's included. And in the manual, it is very detailed. That shows you step by step on how to put everything together. So that's what we're going to do next, is go ahead and assemble this CNC 3018 SC router. Now the first thing we need to do is go ahead and install a gantry. And they've got these little blocks on each side that's already preset as to where this goes. So this will be sitting right down in this position, right back against this stop. And to be able to put this together, you're going to need this little bag. It's M5 14 bolts, and it has these little static nuts that you're going to use to be able to put into this track right here. So I'm going to set this out of the way. And we're going to open up this. Now, one of the things that I find easier to do is you can actually take these and go ahead and put the nut on it. put that little bolt in there just like this. And then just set this in here. And it's a lot easier to be able to get in. And we're going to do that one more time. We're going to just screw this right into there. And we'll slide it in. And there we go. We have it in place now. Now I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. I'm just going to take the M5 bolt and just screw it in. Now that I have all of these nuts in place, I want you to realize these can slide back and forth. Okay, so that way it makes being able to adjust this and get it aligned with the holes very easily. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and put the washers on these. And we're going to take the gantry. We're going to be able to slip it down. We're going to put the nuts through here and just be able to line that up and screw it in. Just like that. And then we'll take the next one and do the same thing. There we go. Now these other two, need to pull those forward for just a moment. And we'll slip this one in. We'll bring it down. We'll find that nut. And we've got that one. And we need one more. And let's find that one right there. Okay, so all four of these now are just loosely attached. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. And I want to keep it where I can slide it back and forward, because it makes getting these little nuts aligned a whole lot easier. So I'm going to go ahead and put the washers onto here now. And I'm going to turn this machine around so you can see it easier in the camera. And we'll go ahead and get this first one aligned. Right there. Okay, so now I have all four of these done. So now it's time to slide this all the way back, right against this stop. Now when I'm tightening this, I want you to see that there's quite a bit of play. This small bracket right here that establishes where it is aligned on the y-axis really is not sufficient to make sure that this gantry is absolutely square to the base. So I want to make sure of that. So by placing this triangle right here on these two rods, I can make sure that it's absolutely square to this base, so that when the x-axis is moving, it's going to stay square to this. And that will actually help your projects a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten this one. Oops. I'm also going to check the other side. And by checking the other side, I'm looking for the same thing. I want it all the way back, and then I can tighten it. Now that I have a couple of these tightened, and I know that this is an actual 90 degrees, then I can go ahead and tighten the rest of them. And we'll do the same on the other side. Now that I have the gantry installed, what I want to do is go ahead and take the time and tighten and make sure that every one of these screws are tightened throughout the whole entire machine. It only takes an extra couple of moments to make sure that all these are tight, and it will make a big difference in the performance of your machine. See, that one was a little bit loose. We'll check this one here. That's good. That's good and tight. I also want to check these. The Fox Alien people do an outstanding job to make sure that the machine is completely put together correctly. But occasionally in shipping, you might have a situation where they just wiggle loose a little bit. And if that is a persistent problem as you're using your machine, you can go ahead and use some Loctite on the threads. And you want to make sure to use the blue. This is the product that I'm referring to. It's the Loctite thread locker, and it is the blue. Do not use the red. The red will permanently lock the screws in, and you might not want that. So please use the blue. That'll keep the screws from being able to be loosened over time, but it is removable. One of the things that I like is that this machine moves without belts. It has these threaded rods to be able to move it. This one controls the X-axis. This one right down here on the base controls the Y-axis. And of course you have one right there that's controlling the Z-axis. This is giving you a very nice positive control when you're moving and operating the machine and doing your projects. Now you're looking at the back of the machine, and the next step is to be able to install the control board. And this has these little screws also. These little nuts right here are going to go in to these slots. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and put in the other three and get this set up so that I can just slip this in and tighten it down. Now on this screw, I went ahead and put the flat washer on it. It slips right through here. We have another washer right here that's going to go on. And then the little nut will screw onto it just like this. Okay, and one more to go. So that little washer will go on there. We'll take that, slide it through. We'll put the second washer on. And then we'll attach the little nut right onto here. There we go. Now it shows in the instructions exactly how it lines up. And it references this little line of plugs right here, these two, and this switch. So this is how it needs to slide in. And then from there, we can just go ahead and tighten it up. We don't need to tighten it up real tight right now because as we put the enclosure on, we're going to need to slide this just a little bit one way or the other. So now we've got the control board in, and these screws are just lightly tightened. There's one thing that I want to show you on the manual. It actually labels each and every little plug that you have. In addition to that, down at the bottom on the control board itself, in little small print, it will say the same thing. So it tells you exactly where everything goes. But I definitely would keep the instructions because this is a lot bigger print than what you're going to find down here. But it does show both places. Should you decide to add a laser in the future, you have a place to be able to plug the laser right into your control board. So now it's time to get the wiring harness out of this package, and we can go ahead and start hooking all of this up. Everything is very clearly labeled, so that's going to make it a whole lot easier. And we can just kind of sort this out. There we go. We've got everything opened up now so we can see exactly where it needs to go. And I'm going to start right here with the spindle, and I'm going to hook up the spindle. Then I'll hook up the Z motor, the Z limit switch, and continue right on around, hooking everything up. Now on the spindle, it's also clearly labeled with the positive, and then on the other side, you have the negative. So that's the first thing that we're going to attach. So on your wires, you have this labeled as positive and this one's labeled as negative. So let's go ahead and plug that in. All right, that's all plugged in now. And then from there, the next one that we have is the Z motor. And that will plug in right back here. And that just snaps in just like that. And then we have, right here is the Z limit switch. And you'll notice that there are two of them. You have one here and one here. And on the machine, you have one right here. And then the other one is right down at the bottom. I'm going to turn this machine just a little bit more so you can see that better. So you have one here and one here. So we're going to take and we're going to plug this in. Then we'll take this one and slide it down and plug it in place. There we go. So now we have the Z-axis taken care of. The spindle is in. The one thing I didn't do is tighten the spindle. Let's make sure that that's tight. Okay. It was a little bit loose, but not bad. And we'll probably adjust the height of this anyway in a few minutes. All right, so this part is taken care of now. So now it's time to plug these wires in on the back. And the first one that I want to do is plug in the spindle. And that gets plugged in right there. And the next one is going to be the Z-axis, is right here. And the Z limit switch, we'll take care of that in just a moment. Now this E-stop gets plugged in right here. Now the next two wires are right here. And this is going to be the X limit right here. That will plug into this one. And then we have the Y limit right here. It plugs in next. There we go. So those are all taken care of. And next after that is the Z limit. There we go. Now while we're on the back of the machine, I'm going to go ahead and plug the cable in for the Y motor right here. We'll get that plugged in. And then this can run right up here. And we can plug in the Y motor. And that plugs in right here. And the X goes right into this one. There we go, over to the X motor. Now right here, we have a plug-in to be able to take care of this limit switch right here on the Y-axis. So it needs to plug in. There we go. So that's done now. The only thing that's left is the probe, and I'll go ahead and plug that in next. Now that everything is plugged in, I want to take a look and make sure that everything is correct. And I want to make sure that the wires are running the way I want them to run. So starting up here, we have this spindle, and it is plugged in. And I want to go ahead and just kind of tuck that out of the way. And then from here, we have the X-axis, and that is correct. And then we have the Y-axis coming from down here. And then we have the Z-axis. But I really don't like where the Z limit switch is. So I'm going to unplug this and reroute it. I'm going to go ahead and have this behind this control board. I think that is going to be a lot better. Down here, we have the E-stop right here that plugs in first. And then you have the X-axis, which plugs in right here. And then you had the Y-axis, followed by the Z-axis, and we're going to plug that right back in. So now then, all of that has been checked and verified that we know is correct. The next one is going to be the Z probe. We're going to go ahead and open that. And we're going to plug in the Z probe. So that is now done. So the wiring is completely done in this area. We've checked the wiring over here. We've checked the wiring on the top of the machine, so we know that that's all good. And we've checked this. The only thing that's left now is to be able to put the E-stop switch in as we build the case. If you look over here on this side of the machine, we have these two wires, and that will connect to the E-stop switch. Now it's time to go ahead and start putting on the case itself. And the first thing you want to do, make sure you have the correct one. And we're going to start with the left-hand side, and we're going to use the M5, and this is a modified truss screw. So I'm going to go ahead and open these up. We're going to get these out on the table where I can work with them. And those are going to be screwing in right into this point here, and then of course on the back side too. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the protective film. Now you have this hole here. That hole is designed to fit right over this stepper motor. And you have to be careful because of the wires right down below. You don't want to pinch those. There we go. Then we'll take the screw and just align the hole and be able to screw that in. Now again, I'm not going to tighten this very tight at the moment. Now right now we have two areas that's not tight. The control board is not tight, and we are not going to tighten these acrylic sheets. But this one's in place now. Now right here we have a hole, and this little corner bracket will go into that. So that will be positioned right here. And I'll slip a screw into that spot, and we'll tighten that down. Okay, so that's done. Now the next thing we'll do is we'll move over to the other side and repeat this process. Okay, this is the right side. We have this cut out right here that actually goes to the back. This hole is where the E-stop will be. Okay, so now let's make sure our alignment is correct. We have this hole on the back. We have our E-stop switch that's going to go right in here. So that's going to be correct. And now we're going to go ahead and put these screws in. We'll put another one right here on the back side. Okay, so that side's done. Now, let's go ahead and get the E-stop switch. So here's the switch right here. And we need to unscrew this little part right here. That's what holds it in place. we will take this off. And we'll slip this right through into that hole. And then this little square type washer will go right onto there. And then we'll put the lock-in ring back on. Okay, so that works well. And then now we'll plug in the wires. Then next we'll just go ahead and plug in these two wires right here. Okay, and that's taken care of. This will clear as this moves forward, so that will be good. The next piece that we're going to work on is the back. So I've located the back. I'm going to go ahead and pull the plastic off, and then we're going to head and mount this fan in here first before we put this on. I'm going to go ahead and turn the machine around to the back so that we're able to get to it. I'm going to keep my probe right there. And we're going to locate the fan, and we're going to put the fan onto the back of this acrylic sheet. You're going to need to locate the bag with the M3 screws. So we'll open that up. And the next thing you want to do is make sure you have this oriented in the correct direction, because this will actually go on just like this. The fan will need to be here, and the fan goes on the inside. It goes right in here on this side of it. And the other thing is, there's two different sides. This is the back of the fan, and this is the front of the fan. And we want the front actually facing onto the acrylic. So it's going to be facing then just like this. And then we'll slip in the screws and screw it in position. Now they provided a little screwdriver that will work perfect for this. So we'll go ahead and screw these in and tighten them up. So now that we have the fan all mounted, we need to be able to plug it in. And the plug-in is this right down here, this connector, the first one on the bottom. So we're going to go ahead and connect that. And then we'll close this up. I'm going to let the probe wire come out right here for now. Now before the back cover goes on permanently, I do want to tighten these. I had to adjust and slide this control panel over just a little bit to the right so that it would line up center of this hole. Where it was located actually would work, but I think this is actually better. I'm going to slide this right around considering that wire, and we'll double check this now. That's tight. So let's go ahead now, we'll swing this back around, and we'll put the cover back onto this. Okay, we have the back now on. I've got that tightened up pretty tight. That's going to look good. And we have the holes on this side as well on this side to be able to put these little brackets in. So we're going to do that right now. And I'll turn this a little bit, and we're going to do the same thing on this corner. Now I've gone ahead and tightened up all of these screws, so this is now done. So we're going to turn this now around, and we're going to be able to work on the top, and we're going to be able to work on the front. Now the next thing we need to do is put this hinge on. This is going to make it where the front cover will open and close. And to be able to put this on, you have this notch where the hinge is, because that door is going to be able to open wide open. And you have these 3 holes that align with the holes here, and the screws will just slip in. And we'll go ahead and tighten these down. So this is the front cover, and of course it'll say it right here. You have the holes over here that will line up with the holes for this hinge. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove this protective film. So that needs to be positioned like that where it'll hold the door closed. So this will need to be opened up just like this, and we'll put the screws in here. Now the screws that it takes are the M4, and these are the little flathead screws. And we'll take that right there and screw it in. We'll take another one. We'll get this hinge done right there. There we go. And now we have 2 more to go. The only thing that's left now is to put the top on it. The only piece of acrylic left. You have the 4 holes in this, and we have these L brackets that need to go in that will hold it. So I'm going to go ahead and take the protective cover off. And I'll go ahead and put these brackets in position. And we have 2 more for the back. I'll turn this around so that you can see it. This is where one of them will go. Now the last thing we need to do is hook up the USB cable. Now I decided to go with this offline controller, so I can control it with the computer, or I can use the Gerbil offline controller. Now this has a little cable that comes with it. And it also has the SD card so that we can save the files and load the files directly into the back of this. Now this needs to be able to plug in, and you can see the connectors right here. Both of these connectors are identical, and they'll need to plug into the back of the computer and into the controller. So that plugs in just like that. So that's plugged in. We also need to plug this in into the control panel. The easiest way to do that, of course, was when the cover was off, but you still have an access hole right here, and we can get to it. Now, with a little bit of effort, I could take this and be able to work it in and plug it in, but that's really a lot of trouble. It's a whole lot easier just to go ahead, take out the 4 screws, remove the back cover, and put these in. Now, everybody's not going to want to do the offline controller. That's okay. I personally like it. Now we'll slip off the cover. Be careful of your fan wire. Now we'll run this through here, and we'll plug that in. We'll take the USB cable and do the same thing, run it through this hole, and we'll go ahead and plug it in. And we'll just slip the cover back on. And that really doesn't take a lot of time. And it's done. Now we have everything done. Well, the machine's assembled now, and it took about 30 minutes to be able to get it all together. If you liked the video today, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the little bell notification down below so that you won't miss out on any of the videos that I'm producing. In the next video, we're going to be starting up this machine, running it through its paces, and doing a test carve. And you're not going to want to miss that. So please, don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when I'm uploading new videos. And I look forward to seeing each and every one of you in the next video.